everything is closed down thing is I've had a dentist appointment pushed back like 3 times now. This third time, they didn't even get a hold of me because last week we started recording when they called, and they left a voicemail. They were just like, you don't need to call us. We just went ahead and moved your appointment to another date.
That's nice of them.
Okay.
Don't worry about your schedule. We're going to take care of this for you.
Well, they kept it around the same time that I was originally scheduled for, but a month from now.
Oh, lovely.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Planting money trees, motherfuckers.
You playing Animal Crossing right now?
No.
Yeah.
I'm just singing
You
a song.
recording yet?
I might be.
Start the goddamn show.
You didn't start the damn show last week.
You don't know.
Cold open?
And look at
Cold
it.
open.
What are you talking about? I started it last week. I just hit the wrong
You
button.
started recording. You just didn't open the show.
I never open the show properly. Speaking of opening the show properly, comes naturally. We are
Joe.
Mike.
I am Cody, and today, again, we are joined by
Taj.
And his baby.
And Arya.
Somebody's baby.
Oh, what?
Now you're starting to deny it.
Whoa, buddy.
Not good.
You can't
Slowly on his way out.
Oh, look,
the
black
first
thing.
step.
She's a year old now, right? Isn't that the right time?
I wouldn't know.
Too soon?
Aren't you supposed to always be like there for them, no matter what, or something?
I don't know. They say that.
I'm gonna catch this
like
snail. Fucking snail got away. God damn it!
Oops.
Cody,
How did
What's
a
up?
snail get away?
drive the show.
I hit the wrong bush he was on because I was a little too close, and he got away. He's a fast
Man,
snail.
fuck that bush.
Fossil. Anyways, yeah, what's going on, fellas? What are we talking about today?
War
I think we were
movie.
talking about- Yeah, war movies and Extraction.
All right, so we can do the normal thing.
Yeah, might as well.
All right,
Mike,
we're gonna
how do you
start
like
with
it?
Mike.
Yeah. What's
Okay.
up?
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Good talk.
Good
You
talk.
gonna ask the questions to set it up?
Oh, so the normal thing is we gonna do if you liked it or not. 3 things you liked and 1 thing you're surprised by. And if you didn't like it, you can say 3 things you didn't like. But I think we all liked it, so.
I'll start. I liked it. It was really good. It was actually a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Like, not saying like the Netflix movies have been bad, but they haven't been like, oh my god, great yet for the most part. So I was kind of thinking it might just be good. It surprised me how good it was though. The things I liked about it was one, Thor is dope as shit in pretty much everything.
Thor.
Like, I haven't seen him in anything yet that I was like, wow. Like, I've seen him movies that aren't great, but I've always enjoyed his performance. And it was way different too than some of his other action movies that you've seen him in, because you've only mainly really seen him as a superhero. So him to be able to like get beat up a little bit, and like I was thinking, and here the second thing though is how much he did get beat up, because I mean there's a few franchises where the character gets the shit kicked out of him. You go back, you think like Die Hard, you think Mission Impossible, you think John Wick, and now you could add Extraction, because that dude got his ass whooped a lot. Like, he was fucked up through most of the movie. And then by the end, he was just a barely walking, covered in blood, sad person. So that added a cool element to it. And then just the action sequences and that fucking amazing car scene everyone keeps talking about online. Like, it was one of the hype points before the movie came out. And I was like, I hope they're not like overselling it. They didn't. That car scene was long as shit, and the way they shot it was amazing. They tried to do that thing where it all looked like one shot. You could tell where the cuts were, but it was cool because it would smoothly go like into the vehicle with them. And then as like a point of action happens, like to the right, it would turn to the right and then zoom in on that out of the vehicle, then come up and look down on everything. Like just the way the camera moved around and everything felt so seamless and so dope. One thing, there's one thing that kind of surprised me. Not really, but until Stranger Things showed up. What's his name?
David Harbour.
Yeah, until he showed up, like I remember thinking, like I don't recognize anybody in this movie except for Thor, and I was like, it was kind of weird. Like I've seen plenty of movies where I haven't seen some people in a long time or blah blah blah, like they're not super big stars. But I legit didn't recognize a goddamn person in that movie until Stranger Things threw it up. And then after he left, I was like, well, there's nobody else again. So that was kind of weird, not having like a real marketable second lead, like a co-lead in it. Because most movies will have like, you know, their main star, and then it has somebody else. And so I guess David Harbour was that guy, which is kind of shocking because I didn't think he was at that point yet because I haven't seen Stranger Things. And so
He does that in a lot of movies, though.
yeah, but like he pops up as a, you know, a small role here and there, but like he was the second most, you know, well-known name on this call sheet. And even then he wasn't even in it for that much. But
I would venture to guess one of the reasons because of that, it very much felt like one of those movies that was made, produced and whatnot overseas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know one of the production companies is India Take One, but that's what it kind of felt like, you know, like an Indian production company with all this like American backing of money and whatnot.
Yeah. And also, I want to make clear, like, it's not a bad thing that there was nobody I recognized in it at all. It was just kind of jarring when you realized it because, like, it's always there in movies. There's always a couple people that you know. And then David Harbour didn't show up till well into it, like an hour in. And
I would say 2/3 into the movie.
Yeah, so, like, you're already kind of pretty well established by the time he shows up. But, yeah, that's my thoughts.
I like how you say he left. When
Yeah.
you say he left, but he was not.
Hey,
He didn't
hey,
leave.
no fucking spoilers.
I
Don't
just
say
said
that he got
didn't
shot
leave.
by a kid.
Whoa.
I did it.
Wow.
I
When
did
we
it.
not spoil stuff.
Fuck you
Hey,
all.
look, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't watched it yet, you should stop now. Or, you know, how long did Mike talk? 5 minutes ago? Just stop 5 minutes ago. Because it's spoilers galore after that. Really.
First off, if
Well,
you've
Mike
ever
is a
listened to
pretty
this
good,
show before,
pretty
you should
good,
know.
You know,
I don't give a fuck about your spoilers.
I'm going to spoil a shit ton of stuff, though.
Yeah, you are. Spoiling ass bitch. Go ahead, Joe. What's up? How'd you like it? What were your favorite things? What were you surprised by?
I absolutely love this movie. It was so much fun. So the three things that I really like about it. One, like Mike said, the action sequences are just awesome. Just once they start going, just balls to the wall, just keep going. Just keep ramping up the intensity with every single one, going from rooftop chase to car chase. So much fucking fun. The second thing that I liked, is Chris Hemsworth and his character. Very much like, this is pretty much going to be exactly what Mike said. And that's one thing I couldn't stop thinking about throughout the whole entire movie is how much this is like, man, this is an action hero that is just getting fucking beat to hell this whole entire time, but just keeps going. Even the bad guy, quote unquote bad guy that you had going into it, which was the
Indian John Wick.
I was going to call him the drug dealer's right-hand man, who initially hires him to get his kid, the drug dealer's kid, back, and then ends up trying to double-cross him so he doesn't have to pay by getting the kid back himself, by taking the kid away. Like, that dude just got fucked up the whole entire time as well. And so by the end of the movie, you have these two guys that were on opposing sides, but now are just trying to get this kid out, and they're both just getting their asses kicked.
Yeah, they're in good shape.
Get him out of the city. So that was so much fun. The third thing that I liked about this is I don't know.
Okay.
It's a very, and I say that just because it's a very simple movie. You just like, there's a little bit of plot going into it. It's kind of a little bit of a dumb plot because it's they're trying a rival drug kingpin kidnaps this other kingpin's son and I don't even remember, was going to hold him for ransom. Was it?
Well, he was gonna
It was a semi-ransom.
semi-ransom. Yeah, he's basically trying to show that he's weak.
And he kind of is, because the initial drug kingpin is in jail, Indian jail right now. But basically just his right-hand man, who was supposed to be guarding the kid the whole entire time, is told to do whatever it takes to get him. Hires Chris Helmsworth, his character, or his extraction team, I should really say, to get the kid out, but can't pay him. So once he gets the kid, he double crosses him and tries to take the kid himself so that he can basically get him out of the city. Basically, all the hard work is done with getting the kid away from the large group of guys that were holding him hostage. And that's basically where the rest of the movie goes. So it's a very simple plot. All the action scenes are just straightforward right there, but fun. No real cool like soundtrack or anything to go along with it, but the audio design, the way everything is put together is really nice. The ending I didn't really care for, because I would want to see this character continue on. Afterwards, we find out that who was it? The Russo Brothers was it them who wanted to continue with either like a prequel or sequel to this movie?
The director said it.
It was the director that said it.
Yeah, Sam Hargrave.
So I don't know how you can do that because of the way the movie ended. Yeah, I get it that they kind of held that one shot where it's like, oh, is that him in the background all blurred out or whatnot? I don't know.
That was him.
You sure?
Yep.
You sure?
Yep.
How are you so sure?
He took a long bath in that gross Indian river, which I'm sure helped heal.
That gross Indian river just healed up his neck wound.
Yeah, it's fine. He might not be able to talk right or whatever, but he's fine.
Okay, fair enough. So that was the only thing I didn't really care for it. I was just like, I wanted to see this character win. He felt like he needed to win by the end of that movie. I'm okay with it ending the way it did. I'm not like one of those people that's like, no, it has to end with a happy ending. I just wish it would have, because I would love to see more of this character.
Confident they'll try and find a way to explain away all of the bullet holes in the character by the time the sequel comes out, if it's going to be a sequel.
Yeah. And they literally did set it up. You do have that, is that him? Is that not him?
You're right. It's open.
Yeah, it is very much open. It's just kind of weird that they would, do that where he basically falls over, off the bridge into that mucky Indian water and is somehow still alive. Surprises? I really didn't know much about this movie going into it. So I would say having David Harbour in it was a surprise to me, even though I kind of had that ruined because you guys ended up watching it a day or two before I ended up watching it.
Yeah.
So someone texted out, "Oh, it's David Harbour," or probably
Mike said new Hellboy.
Things. Yeah, Hellboy's in it. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But still not knowing what his character was going into it, it felt like, oh, he is trying to help him, and then slowly you find out that he's not going to really help him out. Yeah, so those are my things. Cody?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. I have now watched it twice. That's how I know he's alive at the end. Just saying, I think he's alive at the end, just so they can, make a potential sequel down the line. I'm gonna put Animal Crossing down so I can focus on what I'm gonna say. I was listening the entire time. So
I could tell as
Yeah.
as you're sitting there, like you're reading to yourself the prompts on screen.
yeah, and
I'm just pointing it out.
anyhow, Death Wish coffee. Double strong today. Anyhow, yes, I enjoyed it a lot. The three things I enjoyed the most, like Mike said and Joe said, the action scenes. That car scene was just fucking tremendous. The only real iffy effect scene was the truck crash. Looked a little wonky. You can tell
Which
it wasn't
one?
the one where they dive out and they under the bridge and then it blows up.
It's a big overhead shot.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just looked super rough, and I was like, not the greatest effects in the world, but we're fucking playing with essentially a Netflix movie with a $65 million budget.
It was very forgivable, but it also felt like most of it felt like they didn't really rely on much CG going
No,
into it.
I don't
It was
think they
very
did at
much
all.
So practical effects.
Yeah, so when they did that, I was like, well, whatever. I don't really care. But everything else looked good. I mean, they crashed a helicopter, looked pretty dope. So that was, whatever. Yes, the action scenes were phenomenal. My second point would probably be the gun fight scenes were tremendous in them. The way he used close quarters, you can tell when he's using his rifle, he would back it up underneath his arm instead of holding it against his shoulder, because that would obviously lengthen the gun out, and it wouldn't be able to accurately shoot as well as he was at close range like that. But it was cool. He was double tapping everybody, switching quickly to his pistol to unload on people, using people as cover. I mean, it's just really cool. And the fact that he didn't once he ran out of bullets or gun knocked out of his hand, he just found anything, including a cup, to murder people with.
Oh God, that whole fight scene right there,
Yeah.
ending with the rake.
Yeah.
He kills that dude with the rake.
I was like, well, okay.
Well, I'm not going to talk now because you're just taking all the shit.
Shut the fuck up, Taj.
Fuck you.
Whatever.
I mean, you could have gone first. You could have stepped up and be like, oh, I want to go, but you didn't, did you? So guess what?
Oh, Mike.
No, you directed the first person to speak, and that was Mike. So fuck you again.
You could have
That's
said
twice.
anything you wanted. You
Really?
could be like,
That
oh,
would've
yeah.
been rude.
Would stop you from before. Anyways, the third thing was that I really enjoyed was the I mean, I want to say story, but the world they kind of have in this one with him being an extraction team member and all that fun stuff. I enjoyed that. It was more realistic than a lot of action movies would be. You know what I mean? Because to Joe's point and Mike's point is he didn't really air quotes win. You know what I mean? It was successful, but at what cost? I mean, literally his entire team is dead, which goes into my surprise thing I'll talk about in a minute. And he, arguably not in the greatest of shape at the end of the movie. Couple bullet holes lighter, a few pints of blood lighter. Guarantee you has some kind of foot fungus after being in that sewer, which legit made me gag.
At the very least. Oh,
Yeah,
that sewer was awful.
dude.
Yeah.
The
Not even
rats
talking
swimming
about
in
the
it.
river, that fucking sewer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gunshots, at least it was worries. If anything, his
Yeah.
body's like, oh, thank God, I can push out all these toxins you put into your system by walking in that sewer for 10 minutes. And then the surprise thing to me was Indian John Wick, who you obviously you knew something was going on because he's I ain't got money. Dude's in jail, all his assets are frozen. I know this guy, and then she says we got this whale, and I was like, oh, this is not good, right? So I kind of thought the way that the movie started, with him on the bridge being all injured and nonsense. I was like, oh, cool. So it's a double cross thing. That's gonna be in the middle of the movie, and then after that, he's gonna be on this fucking rampage to murder, kill, death his way to this kid. because he got double crossed and is, whatever. And then obviously it didn't really play out that way, because Indian John Wick was sort of a good guy, but like not a good guy, But when he pops out of the bottom of the boat, I did not expect that to be him. I expected that. Jesus, Mike. I expected that, like the guy in the bottom of the boat when he starts murdering those dudes. I expected him to be someone from the drug, like the cops and the drug lord guy who like did the kidnapping. But I didn't know. I was like, well, how did they know where the boat was? Blah blah blah. And then it turns out,
right? That was Going into that scene, you're like, how does this guy know where all these like basically secret agents are at this point in time? It has to be some sort of mole within the first cartel's organization or whatnot.
Yep.
Because that's the only way that they would know where that boat is, and so they would do cut shots back to the main base for the extraction team, and I'm just sitting there going,
which one of you fucks did it?
Which one of you fucks is giving this up? And yeah, no, it ended up being something a little bit different.
Yeah, so I was surprised by that. Anyhow, Taj, you want to go now? Yeah, bitch.
No, fuck you.
All right, fine.
What I really liked about the movie was the realism that it kind of portrayed for Chris Hemsworth. I think that, it differed from like John Wick in the way, in the sense that, every time he took a bullet, it really had an impact on his ability to fight or shoot or, do anything like that.
Walk.
Versus where like John Wick, he'll take a bullet or, get stabbed or something like that, and it slows him down for like 2 seconds and then he's back at it, kind of full throttle. So I really liked that, there were consequences for every bullet that he took. And, you saw how much slower or how much more, pain there was for every, injury and all of that. So it was a lot of fun to just watch that portion of it. I did enjoy the interaction he had with the kid as well. The kid played kind of a major character, even though he was, very much a supporting piece to the story that was built around the kid.
Mm-hmm.
That interaction was good, and just to kind of see him, the growth that was made in, the 24 or 48 hours of movie where he goes from this kind of disconnected individual to, kind of exposing himself and his vulnerabilities as well. So I enjoyed those things. I loved the action. It was fantastic. The surprise piece for me that I really enjoyed was the Indian John Wick getting hit by the truck or whatever it was, and launching him into the car was just so much fun, because you knew that there was going to be some sort of get back after Chris Hemsworth got hit by a car, but you didn't know what it was going to be. And then just this truck out of nowhere, just pow, vaulting him was so much fun for me. It was shocking and fun, so I really enjoyed that piece of it. But I mean, really, all around, you guys have really covered the entire movie, so it's hard to have, there's not much left to break down. The movie overall was just really phenomenal and easily watchable for multiple times, just to see little things. I agree with you that sewer system was awful, and I'm pretty sure I saw at least 2 pieces of shit floating through, like next to the rats that were trudging, through it, all wallowing in that shit. It was awful. Not quite gag worthy for me, but pretty fucking close.
Yeah, I was not doing well with that.
Yeah, that truck scene where it comes out of nowhere, and it's kind of hilarious, where Chris Hemsworth's character gets hit by the car, and you just see like 2 body parts just go flying just past the windshield on the car, and then to have him turn that around and get that guy going backwards, just, I don't know, they would just crack me up. Not a movie that had a whole lot of funny scenes, but that just happening out of nowhere and then happening again to get him back was fucking hilarious.
That is both, kind of horrifying and hilarious all at the same time.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's Extraction. Pretty
Out
goddamn
of all the
good movie though.
action scenes, was there a favorite action scene of your guys's? For me, I really liked the first action scene at the beginning where he basically clears out that one room. It kind of felt like a combination of Ben Affleck's Batman from, was it Batman versus Superman? Yeah,
Yes.
where he clears out that warehouse and is just fucking
Yeah.
people up. But you also get a hint of Liam Neeson from Taken, Bruce Willis from Die Hard, and there was one more I can't think of that reminded me of that action scene. But yeah, it's just him improvising the whole entire time, going from he's got a gun, he's clearing out the room, and then he slowly loses the one gun and is forced to use, I think, his handgun. And he loses that one and then just goes hand to hand, and then finally has to use a cup and then a fucking rake in order to finish off the last guy.
Last two guys used the rake handle and then the rake head.
Fucking awesome. What?
They said he used that rake on two people.
So was it true that they actually went back and refilmed that scene right there just because somebody made mention that the guy's name is Tyler Rake?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't kill somebody with a rake, they're gonna be mad.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fucking fantastic.
That little short that you shared, Cody, that was kind of the breakdown of that entire scene was so fantastic for all of the insight that it provided into every little bit of that, fight scene, between with Chris Hemsworth and the director. It was so much fun, just kind of watching them, break it down and why they did certain things or how they did certain things in that fight scene.
Yeah.
Was really good. Like rather than having a solid floor, they had the soft floor for parts of the falls, or the mannequin doll for the broken neck scene, and the flipping broken neck scene. Just the little things that you don't think about, giving them the ability to make scenes look more real. So that was really fun and insightful, just to kind of see that information for it, and it's really, I think that was done better because the director was the stunt guy, and so he had much more insight into how to make these scenes look more real and feel more real for the viewer, with cuts and different things like soft floors to really amp up the effect.
Yeah. I like that little snippet, and I think they planning doing a couple more of those, just kind of like weirdly promote the movie, because Netflix has been doing a couple of them that way for the last couple of things they've done. But that one's fun because you see like the fact that they had a lot of fun doing it, you know what I mean? Like the director and Hemsworth had a lot of fun kind of interacting with each other, but also just you could see they had fun on set too. Like the whole rake gag was pretty funny. And then the thing that the director said about it is that was the guy's last bit on set. He's done on set. I was like, yeah, because he just fucking got raked.
That was his last day on set.
Yep, it was
just
pretty funny.
Simple.
What else? I think that's really it. I think the fact, like Taj was saying, like the fact that the director is a stunt coordinator really did help a lot of the stunt work, but also just the cinematography around the stunt work. Because unlike a lot of newer action movies, the camera didn't move a lot to hide the lack of fighting capability and stuff like that. So you could see the action unfolding on scene or in the scene, and then it transitioned well because he was able to do proper camera cuts to another angle for the impact, like the table, for example, they talked about in that clip, where they're breaking down the scene. The camera angle made it look like it was brutal, because first camera angle, you see Hemsworth fucking just kick the shit out of that table, full on fucking This Is Sparta kick right to that fucking table, like bye bye bud, and then it cuts to the guy getting his fucking face smashed in by it, and it legit looks like that dude no longer has full use of his face anymore because that table looked like it fucking just smashed the shit out of him. It's like he's gonna have to redo his dentist appointment too because he's gonna need to put teeth back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is definitely a movie that you can hold up. We've talked about it before, like Taken 3, where you have those action sequences are so muddied, so awful. You can't tell what the fuck is going on. They're so fast and so dark and But then you have a movie like this where you still have fast action, but you can see where everything is going. You can see where the hits hurt. You can where the hits happen and how much it hurts. And it's so much, Jesus Christ, so well done. There we go. Words. I can words today. Let me think.
Joe is a wordsmith today, I see.
Secret, I'm always a wordsmith.
Well, I don't think that's actually true at all. But yeah, no, it's definitely interesting because you can see, like, even like Mike was saying with the cuts in the car during the car chase, like no normal dude's gonna like think of those. You know what I mean? Like those definitely are like looking at a stunt person's like point of view because like they're shooting stuff and obviously cars are crashing and then like the camera's not just zooming by and you can't see what's going on. It's locked in a perspective almost like you are a character being, you know, part of the action and going along with it. And the transition from outside and into a car to that like sitting in the back seat type action shot was just fun to watch, but also it made it feel more intense because it did feel like you were. It
didn't break the flow of the action.
Yeah, like it didn't jump to another angle to see it until it left the car, and then you saw the car, a chasing car go around the corner around it, that sort of thing. It was just really cool.
I definitely liked the way they shot the movie where there were very little times where you left the main character. There were only a couple scenes where you popped back to the extraction team or even towards the beginning where they were setting things up between the initial drug lord and his number two man. But everything else after that, you were following Worth character the whole entire time. I love that.
Yeah, Joe, you were chopping up like a motherfucker.
Yeah, your guys' images are better now.
Yeah, your video and audio were just freaking out. I don't know what's going on over there, but anyways, yeah, I mean, it's just to Taj's point, you can tell that there's way more thought going into everything that has to do stunt wise. And like I was trying to see the cinematographer is Newton Thomas Siegel. And he surprisingly has a bunch of movies that we've all seen under his belt. And if you go to like X-Men, like there's a lot of Bryan Singer stuff because he worked on like At Pupil and Usual Suspects in the first two X-Men movies, Superman Returns. So like he's definitely done actions. Well, not At Pupil's not action stuff, but he's you see the smattering of action stuff. The one thing that really got to me though is he was the dude. He did the cinematography for Drive, that fucking gnarly ass movie with the Notebook kid.
That makes sense for this movie.
Yeah. Oh, he's also working on Cherry, the other Anthony Joe Russo movie that they're producing. That's good. Interesting. Yeah, so I mean it's it definitely added to it because like the action scenes, to Mike's original point, were some of the best things that we've seen action wise in movies lately. Mm-hmm. And I think it was to Joe's point, it even felt like a John Wick style type thing because of the I mean, not just the ridiculous action and the fact that like he's just murdering people left and right, but it felt more realistic and like not grounded. Is it grounded? Is a good word for it? I
Grounded
think
would be a good word for it, just because you don't have those characters that are like take 10, 20 bullets to the chest and just keep running at you.
yeah,
They're definitely, one to the chest, one to the head, or two to the chest, one to the head, whatever it is. Finish them off type of thing, and they stay dead. You don't have any characters that are like, I think he's dead, and then suddenly gets back up, and you're round 2 start.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna
It's a lot
say.
more ground out.
I was gonna say earlier when Mike was talking about the action scenes and like the stuff, the bridge scene at the end, when he's essentially fighting off the cops and everything, like on the bridge by himself while waiting for the kid to run, and those two dudes are on the other side of that car, and he drops down and shoots them in their legs, and then shoots them in their faces. I was like, I don't think they'd be shooting at you if you shot just their legs out, but a good thing you killed them, I guess, huh? Because good God, fucking mopping up, and it's funny, like I kept noticing the guns everyone was using, and I was like, oh, I played with that gun in the Division. I played with that gun in the Division. That gun sucks in general, but it's also in the Division. But it was pretty fun. I think that's all I had to say about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we covered it.
Yeah. Everyone should watch it. It's awesome.
Definitely.
I highly recommend checking it out if you have the Netflix, because it's on there and it's new. But yeah, other than that, I think anyone else got anything? Any big news that I missed?
Man, it's so quiet in the entertainment world right now. There's not much out there.
The only thing I could think of is I thought, because we go and get comics, Diamond has started to do distribution again, if I recall right.
They want to. Yeah, they're looking at towards the end of this May.
So hopefully that happens and we start getting things coming back out. But we'll see.
Yeah, because they've been even comic creators have been teasing a lot of stuff, like showing this and that. I'm like, yeah, but when am I going to be able to get this and that? Because I can't get it now.
Yeah.
But whatever. Well, May the 4th is going to be a big Star Wars thing. If you guys don't know that already, so May 4th is kind of known as Star Wars Day.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, so Disney has done something interesting again, in the light of our situation here in the world, is they've moved up the premiere of the newest Star Wars movie that just came out, Rise of Skywalker. They're actually going to release it on Disney Plus on the 4th.
That's cool.
The 4th is also going to be the Mandalorian documentary series, the making of that they were teasing late last year, where they're going to show how they did all the special effects of that new VR rig they're shooting with. They're going to release the finale for Clone Wars on the same day. And there's something else I saw too that's going to make that just a fucking huge thing. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, Jesus, that's going to be a huge day.
Yeah, and for the folks, and some of you, we all have Disney Plus for various reasons. But for the folks who don't know right now, going until the end of next week, I believe, all Star Wars movies, including all the Skywalker saga 9 films, are actually on sale for $9.99. So for essentially for $100, you can get all 9 movies. And I believe they're all the 4K versions on iTunes. If you don't already have, but if you do the math real quick, if you take that same $100 and you spend it on a year of Disney Plus, you can get those movies and all the Avengers movies for that year.
There's so much more value there.
Yeah, so
honestly,
it's up to y'all. how you want to spend your monies, but I'm just saying we're not being paid for this, but I'm just saying basic. I mean, if they want to pay us, I'll allow it.
Totally.
Bring it on, Disney. We'll even stop using bad language most of the time, Mike.
Right. Well, yeah.
He meant heck yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Actually, this is interesting. I was reading murmurs about this last night. Disney World and Universal Orlando reopening strategies have been unveiled. So the recommendation will be assessed and updated as needed, but includes suggestions that larger theme parks should begin phase 1 by opening at a 50% capacity with a potential increase to 75% capacity during phase 2. All employees will be required to wear face masks and with touchless hand sanitizer available at each ticketing entry and turnstile, as well as each ride attraction entry and exit. Because obviously you'll be touching things when you get in and out of rides. And then they're going to have staff members age 65 and above will be encouraged to stay home. Because Disneyland has a shit ton of old people that work there. In their shops and everything.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing.
At 50% capacity, it's going to almost, in my opinion, it probably, maybe I'm wrong, it's going to almost feel like there's no one at the park.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I've never been to either, well, Taj can ring in because he has been. I haven't been to either Disney World or Universal Orlando, but I know they're massive parks compared to Disneyland and Universal Studios Hollywood. So, Taj, if you want to speak up on that, not Aria.
So they are massive, and the fact that Disney World is like 8 parks worth of, land helps a great deal. But if they're saying 50% capacity at each one of those parks, including Universal Orlando, the thing that stands out to me as the key indicator is that, as with most theme parks or most places in general that have lots of different things that they offer, there are favorites, and then there are some things that kind of fall off by the wayside. And so you're still going to have a group of individuals, a large group of individuals that gather at one ride or a few rides more than others. And so while I think that it's great that there's a strategy to kind of open things back up and all that, there still, should be kind of a caution on the part of the attendees. Because it sounds like, at least for Disney, they're really trying to think their way through it in a way that's going to say, hey, look, we need to make money, and B, we want to open up things for people to come and enjoy during this difficult time. But the people that attend still need to be doing their part to kind of take precautions for themselves.
Yeah, don't be fucking gross people.
And, wash your fucking hands. And, even wearing masks, out in public is still, kind of a thing, because people, don't know how to control themselves when they talk and spit and all that, all those things that are really gross about, human interaction and communication. So I think that it's great that they're opening up and not just saying, hey, look, flood doors open, let's go. But it's going to create some issues for people because, when you hit 50% and you start turning people away, you're going to get complaints. Or, you're going to get that one individual, well, how dare you? You can't, this, that, and the other, you know who I am type of nonsense. And, so there's that where, it'd probably be best if they handled all of that on kind of like the pre-sale basis, so that it's, hey, look, we have a set number of tickets that we're selling. Once they're sold out, they're sold out. We're not doing any ticket sales at the gates type of a thing. I don't know. I'm not Disney, and they make a whole lot more money than I do. But there certainly could be ways to better control that portion of it, just so that you can control as best you can the outrage that's going to come when you hit 50% and people get pissed.
Yeah, this article didn't say it, but I was reading online that Disneyland basically in California, on our half of the fucking country, they were originally thinking about doing only tickets sold online. And it was going to be, at first, it was going to be only people in California can actually go. They're not going to do any out of state
Right. No
visitors.
traveling too.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. Yeah, but just because of that.
Yeah, and
For
so
sure.
they were talking about that because it's obviously it's a big thing because right now in certain states, California, you can't really go anywhere, and they are turning people away from unless you live there and you're coming back. They're stopping people from coming out of state. I was like, well, that's pretty interesting, but it does make sense because obviously, like, you know, the fucking world we live in right now. But I thought it was very interesting that it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do because clearly Disney wants to make money, and they want to make money in a safe way for not just their employees, but everybody who's going to go to the parks. So it'd be interesting to see exactly how they handle that business. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting little tidbit, because the world is wanting to open back up and do things, and clearly people, not just for business wise, but like they want to make money because they have employees they need to take care of, and they have shareholders, and they have all these different things that you don't really think about in a good or bad way. It's just that this is definitely a thing that we need to look at, and it's interesting to think about what they're doing because obviously they don't want to rush into anything and get bad publicity or whatever you want to say about the situation. But it's interesting that they are looking at it in a very strategic way, I guess you could say. Talking about like the whole, not just limiting people, but like having touchless hand sanitizing things all over the entrances and exits of rides and attractions and stuff. Just let you know that they're really looking at it at a safety standpoint.
From a safety standpoint, for sure.
So it's interesting because I know in movie theater land, they're still struggling to figure out a way to actually make that a thing still, to have people come back in the movie theaters.
It's tougher, I think, with movie theaters because it is confined spaces.
Yeah,
and there's only so much you can do. Whereas, theme parks is mostly outdoors. Even the lines queuing is mostly outdoors. So there's a lot more that you can do to kind of help keep people away from each other. Whereas when you go to a theater, you are inches away from the person next to you. And even if you're selling half the seating, and all, you're still, the seats are 2.5 feet wide, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was reading about, was it in China? Was it either China or Japan? I can't remember what it was. But they were talking about how to reopen their theaters, and obviously the whole social distancing thing is they were looking at removing seats in rows. So you'll be a certain distance apart. And so they're looking at it like it's going to be a quarter of the amount of people that normally a theater could hold. So if it holds 1,000, it'll only have seating for 250 people.
Damn.
And so it was weird because like if you think about it, like opening weekend, you have a theater that holds 3,000 people, right? In an average theater.
The bigger ones, the much bigger ones can do it, but the standard ones would be closer to 1,000.
Yeah, so like 1,000. If you drop that again to a quarter of that, you have 250 people going to see a movie. It's weird to think that would be not the norm, but like the kind of the average we're looking at nowadays with that kind of stuff, and like how weird it would be to go see tentpole movie with only 250 people in a theater, kind of crazy if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of movie theater, did you guys see the whole dust up between Universal Pictures and AMC theaters?
No.
So Universal announced, I believe it was Monday afternoon, that they were looking at potentially a different model of releasing of movies. Well, they'll release movies in theaters and in video on video on demand. So like they did with The newest Trolls movie, The Hunt, Invisible Man, and what was the other one? Emma, right? I think it was the other one where they did basically like it's $20 to rent it for 48 hours, video on demand, right? You can't go to the theater to see these. We want to make money still, but also we want to give you entertainment, but most likely we want to make money. So here's your chance to see it, right? Well, they said that going forward, they're going to be looking at that as a model from now on. And AMC, the fucking CEO, just went fucking ballistic and wrote a letter saying, well, if that's your standpoint, then AMC theaters are not going to show any Universal movies.
That's dumb.
Yeah, real fucking dumb. And so a lot of people...
That's an emotional outburst, really.
Yeah, it's fucking... Yeah. It's,
that they turned into policy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like a lot of people who didn't know what Universal put out, because it was a very kind of just a off-key type mention of a thing, just saw AMC blowing up, and there's no, like, the press release from the CEO had no quotes, the direct quote from what the dude from the chairman of Universal said. And so everyone's like, oh, Universal, like AMC is going to go fucking down the toilet because of this, right? Well, in all aspects, yeah, that's a great way to look at it because it's a dumb idea. But it's like, if you look at what like Universal said is they're not planning on not having movies released. I think they're looking at having smaller movies have an at-home release as well. You know, you're not going to have the new Fast and Furious movie be available in theaters and online at the same time. You know what I mean? And so AMC's like, fuck it, we're not going to have any of your movies here. I'm like, you guys do know how many movies Universal puts out, right? Like, they're the ones that put out, well, Fast and Furious, for example, which is a multi-billion-dollar franchise at this point. They're the ones that do the Minions movies and the Despicable Me movies. So, like, that's not going to happen. They do the Jurassic World movies. Like, to mouth off and say you're not going to fucking have Universal movies in your theaters is fucking asinine.
Yeah, shoot yourself in the foot and then chop your foot off behind it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, not the best choice to fucking just out of nowhere, just blatantly say, fine, we're not going to show your movies. I was like, you're not going to talk to anybody about this first? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, in my favorite part is people like one of the first comments I saw on it was, well, I guess I'm gonna cancel my Movie Pass subscription. I was like, Movie Pass, because that doesn't exist anymore.
A couple months ago.
Yeah, that was the funny part about it. I was like, dummies.
Fair enough. All right.
I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Joe's falling asleep. Oh,
yeah, coffee's already wearing off.
I've got a work call that I have to get on anyway, so this is perfect timing.
Fuck you. All right, well, I guess I'll talk to y'all later. Hey, actually, quick update. Besides Taj, who else bought Uno?
Perfect.
Oh, Joe and Mike just looking away from the camera.
Just looking, yeah.
What? Who? What?
Dolphins.
What's happening? Yes, I'll be right there, honey. Anyhow, Taj can attest to this. We had a lot of fun the other night, him and I doing duos on the internet against some AI. Al Pudding was whooping our ass for a while, and then we flipped over to Flip, and we had a good time and got our ass handed a couple times. Real bad. But it's fun times. Anyhow. Yeah, that's it for this week's episode of Comes Naturally. We are
Joe.
Mike.
I am Cody, and again, we were joined by
Taj.
And as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Deuces.